bit of banter in the beginning.
Yeah, just a bit.
Yeah.
It's one of those, we wait. Cheeky.
On air.
There it is.
There it is.
Oh, my head was bouncing quite a bit.
Yeah.
I just noticed that.
To the beat.
Yeah, to the beat of the
You
drums.
always got the rhythm in you.
I do. I'm a rhythmic man.
Yeah, but welcome back to the COG Weekly podcast, season 3, episode 27.
Yes, we're back again. The Instagram posts have been flying in to the COG Weekly official account.
This is great.
Whoever is the Instagram manager of that account, just huge congratulations to you. You've been doing a great job.
Yeah.
Applaud. Yeah, we could. Sorry, is there a clap sound that
like
we have to manually do it?
Yeah.
So, woo!
Yeah,
Nice. You can be the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, every joke, you have to start laughing like they do in the old shows. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
Live audience.
Yeah. We got a live. In the back of the room, it's not a room, it's actually a stage.
A live audience.
This is all a set.
Yep.
Everything, like the bedroom wall set,
Mm-hmm.
So it's to give it character and whatnot.
Yeah.
Without further ado, we shall start because we started a bit late today, so apologies to anyone who was expecting us to be starting exactly at 5:30. We did start 7 minutes late, so we'll get right into it with the Hassani of the week.
We're always a bit late.
We are. It's sort of a tradition at this point, and we now have 3 choices for the Hassani of the week. As usual, we posted these about 30 minutes ago, 40 minutes ago?
I believe so.
To when we are recording this at the moment. Great little graphic there, created by the graphic design team at Class on Grass Media.
It looks a little different.
It does. It does. If you want to see it, you have to watch on YouTube, and it's just incentives.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, great little graphic there. The 3 people for the Hassani of the week are Mr. Cristiano Ronaldo, Mr. Sadio Mane, and Filip Kostic. It was sort of a week where it was harder to find players who performed outstandingly well in the top 5 European leagues. So obviously, one did have a hat trick, and
it's a hat trick every week, it seems, at this point.
It does. But the others were just more influential performances that we think we need to talk about in influential games. Shall we go left to right or right to left?
Left to right, I think.
All right. So Cristiano Ronaldo scored a hat-trick against Norwich this week. One other player to do that exact thing, Raheem Sterling in episode 20, who got the Hassani of the week, scoring a hat-trick against Norwich with a rating of 7.5.
The lowest that has been for the Hassani.
The hat-tricks against Norwich don't tend to boost you.
No.
But yeah, we also do have to touch on Ronaldo did lose one of his children today. Or sometime near today, and they posted about it today. So our thoughts go to his family and to his loved ones to get through this hard time, and obviously offering them the privacy that they need to get through this.
Exactly.
Moving on, though, he did have a fantastic one-man display where he took the game and he was the only reason they won with his solo performance. I know you had some stat that you were seeing about how often.
I can see it.
Yeah, you can say it, but it's about how often Ronaldo himself completely takes charge of a game and is the reason United wins it. But it was just another pure example of a Ronaldo masterclass. And if you didn't see the third goal, the free kick, you better get on YouTube and start watching it because it was really, really good. I know Mac is pulling up the.
Yeah, I can't. I don't.
Whatever. It's a ridiculous stat.
Yeah, it was like something, I don't know where I saw it, but it said something like Ronaldo with his goal contributions and whatever games he scored in has earned United, it was 13 or something points this season, which when you think about it, 13 points coming straight from one player
insane
is a lot. And I'm sure a lot of those teams down at the bottom like Burnley, Everton, Norwich would love 13 points from a player this season to get out of that.
That's 25% of their points over the whole season.
Yeah, it's incredible. I know we've had the debate this season especially, probably a couple times where we're like, is Ronaldo hurting Man United or not? But he is the highest goal scorer at the club, and goal scoring is something you can't really just say, oh, he scores goals, whatever, he still needs to be benched. It's
well, yeah, he's scoring the goals.
Exactly.
And so did you see the Ralph Rangnick, United Ralph, comment regarding Ronaldo's future?
I did not.
So he obviously, and to be fair to the journalists, it's a good question. They were asking what Ronaldo's future looks like at the club. He has 1 year on his contract left, if he's going to stay, if he's going to go, where he might go. And Rangnick was like, I'm the interim manager here. I'm only here for another 3 months or so until the season's over. And so it's my job to get the most out of him during my time. I have no other thoughts or ambitions. The rest is up to the club and the next manager. My job right now is to get the best out of him and the best out of the team. So regardless of whether he might be hurting the team, he's going to keep playing because he's scoring the goals. And Rangnick isn't in there for some long-term plan of, oh, how am I going to build this team up? It's like, I need to just keep this team in a European competition or in a high enough place in the Premier League for the future United manager, who has been announced now. I don't know if you saw that, as Erik Ten Hag, coming from Ajax, who is a fantastic manager. It is a very tough job to take on. Any manager in the world would agree with that. Managers who have previously done it past Sir Alex's time and managers who are currently shopping around maybe at that job with Ten Hag. It's a very, very tough job. There's a lot of egos you have to deal with. There's a lot of politics you have to deal with. And overall, there's a lot of pressure you have to deal with. But they are such a historic club. And if Ten Hag can succeed at bringing them back to where they were or where they once were 10, 20 years ago, that would be monumental for United fans.
Yeah, United Ralph hasn't done terrible, at least right now. He's only 3 points from a Champions League spot, with Tottenham and Arsenal losing last week. So, with Ten Hag coming in, I think you see players like Donny van de Beek getting another chance, and hopefully he kind of stirs the pot a little bit with,
I would agree,
like maybe getting rid of Pogba. I know Bruno signed a new big contract, so he's staying, but like players that really just don't seem happy or the fans don't like, and then bringing in new exciting players.
Maybe an exit from Harold Maguire.
Yeah,
it's a hard one because you have a lot of players who have immense amounts of talent, and they do relatively well on their respective national teams, which is really the only other time you get to see these players play. And so they're big name players. They've done well on their national teams. And on top of that, they've done well at past clubs in their career. Harry Maguire at Leicester, Paul Pogba at Juventus. And you have these guys that have been proven in really good leagues that seem to go to United and lose their drive, lose their focus, lose their mentality. So it's hard for a manager coming in to say, oh, I want to get rid of these world-class players, because they are so technically good and gifted on the ball, off the ball, and doing what they're good at doing. But I think if they really want change, they need a big manager who's going to come in and say, I don't care about what the stigmas are. I don't care about who has a big role at this club right now. I'm trying to build something. So first we need to cut it down.
Yeah. So Ten Hag and his Ajax teams, you think of like really nice football, really organized, good attacking players, a team that plays as a team, no real standout stars. And then you go to Man U, and there's really no identity there. I think he needs to change the culture and the way that, there is, when Man City sign a player, it's like that is a City player, and that's why they bought him, because he fits exactly what a City player should be like. And then maybe for Barcelona, it's the same thing. For Bayern, it's the same thing. But then with Man United, I don't think of one type of player that kind of fits the Man United player at the moment. It has been in the past, obviously, when they were better, but I think identity is a huge thing that
comes with the manager. You look at their past 10 years. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but they've cycled through managers. Like I run my dishwasher every night. So, that was a really bad pun, but it's true. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That was like a Paul Strom.
That was a Paul Strom pun. You need those every once in a while.
No, they're great entertainment.
Great little bit of entertainment. But like seriously, they have like ran through managers just like left and right. So it's something that you need to develop an identity with a sense of play style, and then bring players in that suit that play style, and then build the chemistry, and then you can show what you do. We see that with Arteta as his team has slowly been able to build up. We see that with Antonio Conte, who's done it magnificently well in a short period of time at Tottenham Hotspurs, bringing in Kulusevski and Bentancur. And so that's something that Ten Hag needs to do in order to bring this Man United team back to where they belong. But it's totally possible. It's just a risky job. But again, we did say that about Xavi going to Barca.
Yep.
And despite the last 2 games that they've played, they've been doing fantastically well.
Exactly.
Moving on from Cristiano Ronaldo, we have a FA Cup future finalist for the 2022 season, or 2022 FA Cup. I suppose 21-22. And that is Sadio Mane. And he gave a fantastic performance against Man City in the semifinals.
He did. It was finally not a 2-2 draw, although
Yes.
it was quite close to it. It was a 3-2 win for Liverpool against Man City at Wembley Stadium. Packed crowd, FA Cup semifinals. But so his first goal, I mean, it's hard to see a American player
It's really tough.
get embarrassed like that. Zach Steffen may have thought he was Ederson, quickly realized he wasn't, and got cleaned out by Mane, and the ball went into the net. But the second goal was just a great team goal. Thiago linking up the play and then chipping it over to Mane for a first-time volley, which just an incredible goal. And Mane, I think, what do you think of his season so far? Because I think when you think of Salah, he's kind of gotten the headlines this season for Liverpool. Everyone's saying best player in the world. He's kind of dropped off a little bit, but I think Mane has picked it up in the past. He's now scored against Man City in back-to-back games. You pulled the goals assist up here.
I do. Yeah, he's played in 28 total games in the Premier League and had 13 goals and 2 assists. And if I go down to his overall, he has 18 goals and 2 assists in 41 games. So it's really not bad stats at all. Obviously, you're not looking at Sadio Mane 2020, Sadio Mane 2019, even 2021, but he's still putting goals in. He's still getting some assists here and there. And given that Salah, I mean, took all the thunder in the beginning of the season and was just scoring left, right, and center, it's totally respectable. And I definitely respect, like he's a team player who puts in his shift without getting the credit that he might deserve. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not often that you see an attacking player with relatively good stats like he has that doesn't really get much praise. I mean, this season, I feel like, if anything, the media's sort of been bashing on him a little bit for not being as good, and there's been lots of threats about Diego Jota coming in at a left wing spot and maybe playing Firmino up top, or even, just switching the team around even more, playing Luis Diaz up top and Jota on the left. So there's a lot of threats towards Mane's position within the squad and within media speculations, and I think maybe that's a little bit non-deserved. He has had a relatively good season. 13 goals right now in the Prem, 18 in all comps, and the season's not even over.
No, and looking at his 2021 season, last season, he actually has more goals this season than he did for all of last season.
Yeah, but the year before that, right, he got the tied Golden Boot with the 22 goals.
That was 2018-19.
Dude, that feels like yesterday. That's
it was
crazy.
But the interesting thing is he had 8 assists last season. He only has 2 this season, which is, 9 assists in all competitions last season. So
I mean, when you watch Liverpool, he is less involved than I remember him being early days when he was at Liverpool. But that being said, it's not like he's playing bad or not doing his part. It's just, I think they have strengthened in so many other areas that he doesn't need to play as big of a role.
No, I agree. Like, when you see all of his goals and all the chances that Liverpool create, he's not the one usually making the passes. Yeah. He's the one getting in those areas to then score.
Cut in front of the defender and tap it in. Like,
exactly.
That's what he does, especially for Liverpool right now.
Which maybe that's just a change in his play style with him getting up there in age and things like that, and Liverpool adapting. So
I mean, he is 30 at this point.
Yeah.
So he's getting older.
So, but he got a brace. That was our second Hassani of the Week candidate. Lastly, which had a bit of controversy in this game that we can talk about, but Kostic got 2 goals versus Barcelona in a 3-2 win for Frankfurt at the Camp Nou, which was a huge result.
It really was. It sent them through in the Europa League. Their first leg was 1-1 in Germany, and then Frankfurt traveled down with 30,000 of their fans
Yeah.
to the new camp to play against Barca and were able to pull off a 3-2 win. Kostic scored a penalty first, and then his second goal was a nice little left-footed shot that went into the bottom right. It was probably from just inside the 18. No one really marking him, but it was an overall good performance in a really good team display, a show of effort and courage from the lads. And I mean, considering that Xavi's Barcelona hadn't lost a game until then,
Yep.
it's really impressive.
It is. And like, so what do you think about the 30,000 Frankfurt fans? Because what I've heard is obviously they section off the away section for people to buy tickets with German credit card accounts to buy those tickets, and that's how they kind of control how many away fans can be in the stadium. That's for like all stadiums. But then it seemed that a lot of Frankfurt fans made like Spanish accounts, is what I heard, where they then are
They would
able-
never give 30,000
No.
out of 100,000 to Frankfurt fans.
No. So a whole nother bunch bought the general admission tickets closer to the match, not the season tickets or the ones for just Barcelona fans. So they bought all of those up, and that's how they got 30,000 instead of, I don't know, maybe 6,000, 5,000.
Yeah.
That's usually the away section. I mean, did you also see that what Ter Stegen said?
I did not.
He went out for warm-ups because, goalies go out
Yeah.
earlier than all the other players. So he goes out for warm-ups. He hears a lot of whistling when he comes out, which is usually, that's a bad thing.
Yeah, it's booze.
Like away, when you're away, that's usually what happens. He comes back in the locker room and says, "We are not at the Camp Nou."
Wow.
Which is like, wow. And maybe it contributed to the performance.
Well, you would think it would have, especially considering they went out of the Europa League, and they were probably the most promising team to win the Europa League in the
for sure.
competition at the moment. So it definitely played a part in it. When you buy general admission tickets, it's not like it's illegal.
No.
I mean, you can totally do it, but it's a bit muddy. I
Yeah.
think it's hard because controlling an away section is also kind of muddy. Like you're trying to say like, oh, you guys can only bring 5,000 or 10,000 into this game, depending on our stadium. There's no real set number of how many they can have or how many they can't. So like I said, it's a bit muddy. And I mean, I can't fault Frankfurt fans for flying to Barcelona.
Yeah.
And wanting to cheer their team on. I mean, that's passion. That's what football is all about, and you love to see it. But I think that there should be some measures put in place to make sure that you're not literally a third of the stadium.
Yeah, exactly. Camp Nou is, what, 90,000?
I think it's 100. So,
yeah.
I mean, but still, 30% of the stadium
around
filled
60,000 versus 30,000, which
that's really tough.
that makes a difference there. So, but those are the three.
Yeah,
great
those
performances.
Those are the three very good performances. I don't think that they come close to Benzema last time, Eriksen the time before. Really, any of them that we've had, because we've had a really good run of solid players.
Incredible performances.
Scoring in really important games or scoring a lot. So I think that we can come together in agreement to give Cristiano Ronaldo the Hassani of the week, but now is where the debate comes into play for the rating. Obviously, like we said, Sterling had a hat-trick against Norwich in episode 20, and he won the Hassani of the week, and he received a rating of 7.5. So that was in a 4-0 victory. Obviously, the game was much more put to bed than this one. This one was 3-2, and Ronaldo really took the game by the scruff of the neck. But that was the last player to do a very similar thing to this. So I would say my instinct is to not go to anything higher than like 8.2, maybe keep it at 8. Because I know Anthony Elanga got an 8 when he scored in that Champions League round of 16 to send them through.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. What do you think? I'll let you say your rating first, and then I'll put mine out there.
So yeah, like you said, it was a 4-0 win when Sterling had his hat trick against Norwich. So I agree. I think this hat trick, where it's only a 3-2 victory, which means all Ronaldo's goals had to happen for them to win the game. But again, it's Norwich. It's not the highest quality. It's not the biggest game. So I'm going to go with a 7.7.
7.7 for you?
Mm-hmm.
I think that I respect that.
Yeah.
I do think that it was, again, not the highest quality game like you said, but the way that he took the game and just controlled it and changed it and totally decided it for Manchester United, I'd put him above Anthony Alenga. Anthony Alenga was maybe he was a sub or he was a starter, but he only scored 1 goal in the game where he received an 8.
Yeah.
So I think it goes higher than that, even though it was a Champions League game against Atletico Madrid. So I will give him an 8.1. So then if we add those together, then we have a 7.9. And that's respectable.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, Ronaldo's also done that many times this season. He did it against Tottenham as well, where he scored a hat trick to win the game. Just many times where he scored multiple goals to win the game for Manchester United. And I think a 7.9 is definitely a fair rating.
I would completely agree. So are we going to go 7.9?
Yep, that
sounds
so.
good. 7.9 for episode 27, Cristiano Ronaldo with 3 versus Norwich. And again, we've been pretty busy. We figured out some stuff with the Hassani of the week and some other graphics, and we fixed those up if you guys are watching or enhanced them. But we are working on finding a way to get the Hassani table also entered in so people can see in comparison. We don't just have to tell you.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So moving on from the Hassani of the week, we obviously have to talk about last week's predictions that happened. Not this coming week's predictions, but what we predicted last week. And kind of how those games went as we saw them as the biggest games throughout this past week. So the first one is Atletico versus Manchester City, which was a really big matchup in the Champions League. Obviously, if you guys were watching, it ended 0-0, but it was a really good game. I think Atletico played the game really, really well.
Mm-hmm. They played an exact Atletico game, which is just frustrate Man City. Although Man City were the ones who didn't need to concede or didn't need to score, Atletico the ones that actually needed to be an attacking team. Still, a 0-0 is very Atletico. But even more so was the big brawl towards the end, which I know
we were laughing about.
Yeah, we were loving it. So many things.
So many things just went crazy. Remember, it was like Felipe was screaming at the top of his lungs in the camera.
So Foden, this is towards the end of the game, dribbles down the sideline, gets tackled fairly by Felipe, I believe, maybe one of their other defenders, but then in the follow through, the defender hits Foden with his cleat kind of, and it looked purposeful. So Foden goes rolling around and rolls back onto the field after being slide tackled out of the field, and Savage did not like that one bit.
He wasn't a huge fan of that.
So he comes over, picks Foden up, the little boy, and then throws him back off of the field, which again, I think Zinchenko was the only Man City player anywhere near that to start with, because he was on the bench.
No, Zinchenko ran over and he was getting involved.
He was warming up. He wasn't even on the field, so he was in between like 3 Atletico players who were like about to assault Foden. And that brought both benches out.
The benches were cleared. The players ran over. Felipe got a red.
Yeah.
Who got the red? No, Felipe. No, Savage got the red. Yeah,
Savage.
Felipe was yelling though.
So yeah,
there was a lot going on.
Savage at one point pulled Grealish's hair.
Oh, I remember.
I think that was the red, maybe.
Yeah, no, he like pulled him back.
Grealish also not playing.
Yeah, get involved.
Yeah, says something to Savage, and Savage just yanks his hair from behind, which it's just hilarious. I mean, Grealish's hair is like a national, monument for England, and everyone loves the hairstyle. He's a Swag 11 participant.
He is. We are definitely redoing it at some point.
Yeah, we are. But you just can't pull his hair and get away with it like that. So,
it's too precious.
But yeah, there was reds. Felipe, the ref was standing right next to the on-field camera, and Felipe just gave him a couple words there. It was just really entertaining.
Felipe got a red.
Yeah. Okay, Felipe did.
Yeah,
so
Felipe got the red.
It was just very entertaining all around, and it did end 0-0 after there were actually a couple huge chances.
Huge chance at the end,
which was like plus
big
10,
saves.
like plus.
Oh, it was crazy.
It was just a great ending to a game, and It was only missing a goal, and if one of the teams scored, I feel like it would have gone crazy. Especially
Atletico
Barca.
Madrid looked better than City
Yeah.
throughout the game. They played their style much better, and I mean, overall, even though they sort of parked the bus, they still were able to counterattack relatively well and got chances. It's just that they couldn't finish them. I mean, that was really it. There was a lot going on, especially towards the end of the game, like you mentioned, that could have sent Atletico into extra time, possibly into pens, and through to the next round. It just didn't happen. And I was obviously gutted about that because I had Atletico winning that game and going through. So my predictions haven't been so great lately.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably the more deserving team overall on paper went through, but in my opinion, the more deserving team based on performances, effort, and tactics did not.
Yeah, exactly. And I predicted a draw and Man City then go through, and that's what happened, and it's just the genius.
It's the genius.
Second game is PSG Marseille. That was first versus second in Ligue 1. PSG won 2-1. And Neymar actually scored, and that's now 6 goals in his last 3 games.
He's hot right now. He's on fire. He was a candidate also for Hassani of the Week. We just didn't want to put him in there because obviously the intensity of the games he was playing didn't quite match up to the other games that we highlighted for the players in the Hassani of the Week. But he could definitely, if he continues this form, be a candidate for a future Hassani, as in the recorded era. You know how they say for like Pele, the recorded era of goals, and then
when
like
they started recording.
when they started putting the stats down for like when the recorded era started for the Hassani table, Neymar's never been in it. So it's an accomplishment for him. He can add it to the trophy cabinet.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we need to start making medals and then like ship them out to the clubs.
Oh yeah.
Like we could ship for Benzema, we shipped to Real Madrid's office and they're like, give this to Benz.
I mean, we could give. We'll talk about that game with Benz. But yeah, PSG win. I predicted PSG win.
I predicted a draw.
Yeah, and that was your like first time predicting a draw
ever.
It didn't really work out. But
I don't know what's going on. Like we'll look at the records later, and you'll be able to see everything. But I don't know what's going on with me.
I think something needs to change.
I would agree.
In the club.
I agree. We need a whole ownership change. Here.
Exactly. And then last game was Sevilla versus Real Madrid at Sevilla. It was a 3-2 Real Madrid win after Sevilla went up 2-0. Rakitic, I remember I was joking about it.
You were joking about it, but it happened.
He scored a free kick, and then Sevilla scored like right after that as well to make it 2. And then Real Madrid just came back, and Big Ben.
Who to do it other than Big Ben's to seal the victory?
With another 90th minute winner, 3-2. I did not predict. I predicted a draw. I was quite close.
I actually got that one right.
And you got a Real Madrid win, which is huge for you. But just what a game. That was first versus third, I believe. Maybe Sevilla. No, Sevilla I don't think would have moved up because Barcelona also lost. But just 2 very good teams in La Liga. Very entertaining match to watch, and Real Madrid just keep coming through in the dying moments this season, it seems.
Yeah, they're just incredible. It's crazy. I'm looking and I was thinking as you were talking about Benzema, how last year and the year before during the COVID season, we talked a lot about how Lewandowski is just incredible, best player in the world at the moment, scores all these goals. And I was going to make the counter argument that this year Benzema has sort of taken the throne for that kind of player. But then I'm looking at the stats. Benzema with 39 games, 39 goals, and 13 assists is absolutely incredible. But Lewandowski has 42 games, 47 goals, and 6 assists. So these guys are just neck and neck for the best number 9 in the world, and it is outstanding to watch.
It is. It truly is. Is that so 42 games? So he has played 3 more
higher
games.
ratio.
Yeah.
He 3 more games, but also Benz is exactly 1 goal a game right now, and Lewandowski is like slightly above with 47 goals in 42 games. So I mean, if you add the assists to it, they're pretty much even because Lewa has less assists than Benz.
There you
so
go.
It's really close. We could do a little bit of a measurement at some point of who's the better striker. That might be a good argument. But at the moment, I don't really care about it. I'm just enjoying watching it.
I mean, and yet on the Hassani table, there's 2 for Benzema, 0 for Lewandowski.
Could that be a lack of judgment from the board of directors selecting the nominees for the Hassani of the Week?
Perhaps.
It might.
Perhaps.
It's a possibility. But yeah, that concludes the sort of roundup that we had for the games we predicted. We're also going to talk about the FA Cup final, which we did a little bit with Sadio Mane, but we need to say that it was another matchup between Liverpool and Man City. It ended up, or the FA Cup semifinal, which is moving to the final. It was another matchup between Liverpool and Man City, which ended up with Liverpool winning, which moves them into the final, which is against Chelsea, and it's a rematch of the Carabao Cup final, which Liverpool won on penalties.
With the Kepa big miss, and Kelleher won his Hassani of the Week in that game as well with his performance.
Do you think we're going to see a Kelleher performance in that?
I would hope so.
It would be awesome.
I mean, if I was Klopp, I would start him.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. I'd start the same team, to be honest. And then
do the same thing again.
Yeah, Chelsea won 2-0 against Palace.
Which was expected.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to see Palace.
It would have. It was one of those like Brighton in 2019 when we made it to the semis, and it was like, oh, maybe they could, and then we lost to City 1-0.
Yeah, exactly. Loftus-Cheek with a goal, which is his first goal
Cheeks
this
with a
season,
goal?
I believe.
Ruben lost his cheeks.
Exactly. Mason Mount with a goal, who has 26 goal contributions this season, which is very good for him.
It's actually really solid.
But
so many sleepers at the moment.
a lot of sleepers.
Yeah. I mean, we're just not talking about him, Lewandowski.
Because, I think there's a lot of players that score like 1 a game.
Yeah.
But that doesn't quite make it to Hassani.
It's so true. It doesn't bring them to this table.
No.
These are more, like, when I look at this list, barring Benzema, who's made it twice, you have Ronaldo, Eriksen, Bukayo Saka, Anthony Elanga, Raheem Sterling. Those are all relatively streaky players that will turn it on for a game and then completely just turn it off, and you won't see it for like 5 games.
So yeah, the end of the season Hassani Award is
a much different. It's a more holistic.
Are we doing it that way? Or are we doing?
Oh, which one are you doing? Which way are you doing?
So you
can explain it.
I was thinking the Hassani of the Year award would be the player based on the Hassani of the Weeks that.
They have to make
it's
this
not the
list.
best player of the season. It's the player that's had the most best performances in one game, maybe.
So should we do a Hassani of the Year and then just like an overall player of the year? Because they're 2 different. Yeah. We just have to find a name.
Overall, like consistent.
Chat, if you want to find a name for that eventually, you guys can let us know. But yeah, that's a good point. Because they're 2 very different assets to have on your team. And I don't... Like, it's obviously maybe you choose the consistent best player.
Yeah.
But there's an argument for wanting a player on your team and wanting them really badly that's just going to show up randomly and score 3 goals and win a game.
In a big game as well, as we've seen in a couple of these. But yeah, that's FA Cup is, I think, next week or maybe the week after that. I'm not sure. In the future. But the game that we both saw in person.
Yeah, the one game we attended.
Minnesota United versus the Colorado Rapids at Allianz Field.
Great stadium. I recommend you visit it.
Great stadium. 3-1 win for the Loons. Donladi out of all people.
Incredible.
Debasi out of all people. And then Lud, of course. Lud always scores.
For you guys who enjoy watching the MLS, Robin Lud is an absolute marksman. He will score every game.
You need him on your team.
He's not the Hassani of the Year. He's that player of the year.
He's that consistent. Yeah. But yeah, I remember saying Donladi came off the bench, and I remember him warming up, and I sit right where they warm up, and I saw him. I was like, they got to put him in. You know, he's this electric spark that we need in the game. And he puts him in, and he scores. And, you know, I look to Heath, and I'm like...
there's an argument for doing a bit of a manager swap.
I think so.
Heath sits in the Allianz seats that you have, and you sit in the Allianz seats that Heath has.
Yeah, I'll do, I'll wear the suit. Just pointing.
But you could totally organize the lads.
I mean, the sub genius. I was like,
well, you knew it was happening.
He's going to change the game, and he comes on.
Did you see it in the warm-up?
Yeah, I did.
It's just he is on flames right now.
I did say, Brent could come in as well.
My dad said that as well.
I saw Brent. Brent was warming up before everyone else.
Brent's pretty young. He's 31. I thought he was much older.
So he's the same age as
as
Mane. A little bit.
A little bit different in level of play that they're playing at.
But importance for the team. I mean,
it's the same.
Hard to argue. It's hard to argue. But you also have to mention Hassani Dotson with the game-winning assists. Playing right back, he's always so versatile, isn't he?
Is. And that's, he's streaky. He is versatile. He will be able to win you a game like that. And that's why we have this Hassani of the Week named after him.
Exactly. And, great assist to Lud. Always happy to see that for the fan
connection.
Favorite. Yeah, exactly. And then should we talk about the ref in the first half? Because that was...
We can. You can speak on that.
It was like 4 cards or something, all to Colorado.
Within like 4 minutes. Yeah. I totally thought Heath just slid a $100 bill to the ref.
He had to have paid upward. Like, if there was like a sectioned amount for each team to pay the ref per year, I feel like Heath gave it all.
Yeah, Heath was like, that's everything we can do.
And the ref was like, okay, I need to give a red card, I need to give a couple of yellows, all in the first
Luckily,
half.
I mean, it wasn't really a red. It looked pretty bad in person, but it wasn't a red.
I didn't believe so. And the reaction.
The VAR was... Yeah. I was one of the people, though, standing up and, yelling a bit at the ref.
Oh, were you?
Maybe the profanity came about a little bit
Yeah.
when he switched the call to a yellow card from a red card. But that's what you got to do. You got to egg him on. You got to make sure he knows, even if you don't agree. Because I said afterwards... my cousin was in the end, he was sitting next to me, and I said afterwards, that's definitely not a foul. And then I got up again, and I, swore at the ref.
Yeah, exactly.
So...
I mean, I was your cousin in that situation. I was just sitting there. I was like, that's just not a red. Yeah. And my dad was up like, come on, referee. But, it's 2 different type of fans. And it's just an odd first half, and then they came out in the second half and put the game to rest. And I mean, what do you think needs to change with this team? I was talking before the game, and I was thinking, there's not a lot of likable... It's not like a likable team as we had with Ike and other players years before. Is that maybe Heath and he needs to go? Is that just, slow start to the season? What do you think it is? Because I feel like the mood is different with this team this year.
I will pick up that question. We just have a chat question that I do want to address because for anyone else listening, I think it's important. The question was, has Hassani ever won his own Hassani of the Week? I think it has happened once.
I feel like it has.
And I'm pretty certain, but it was so far before recording the data and the stats came into play. I mean, we started recording 3 months ago, and we've been doing the podcast for nearly 2.5 years now, 3 years. We're almost to the end of the 3rd season. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that was early season 2, end of season 1 when he would have won it. So, and I think maybe it was honestly the day we came up with it that he won it.
I feel like because trying to think back at his goals, he's scored a couple winners. He's scored some very good goals in some games. I don't remember a lot of multi-goal games.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think back then the bar was a little bit lower.
Yeah, I think so.
I would reckon at least.
Yeah, I would think so. But if he carries on the form, I think he's got a goal and a couple assists maybe this season already. So
totally,
if he keeps it up, that could be interesting to see, and it would be a big celebration, I think.
I completely agree. Yeah. Now, to the question that you were actually asking me, the team that is less likable and maybe a little bit less flary, less fiery, the passion might not be there as much from the fans and from the team. How do we deal with that? I would say that I think when you have a leader on the field who works for the team and the fans, that sort of inspires that kind of passion from everyone. Mm-hmm. I think Darwin Quintero although he had his flaws, was a really good leader at bringing the players to a high work ethic throughout his time when he was with us. I think Francisco Calvo was really good at that as well. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, I mean, he was a passion merchant.
That's true.
And the departure of those two, I have seen a diminishing of that sort of, I don't know what you could call it, passion or representation of the city. Christian Ramirez obviously left a
No,
couple years
Ozzy
ago,
as well.
and so I think that hurts. Ozzy, who it didn't have as deep of a connection to the club, but did play for the fans, left. So now we have Michael Boxall, who I really like, and I like his work ethic,
Yep.
but he's really the only one who's been a veteran on this team for a long time that really understands Minnesota and the fans. Our main guy, who is Bebelo Reynoso, who, don't get me wrong, is a fantastic player, doesn't seem to have the same type of energy towards the city and the fans that the past leaders have had. Doesn't mean he's not as good of a player. In fact, I think he's better than pretty much everyone I mentioned.
Yes.
But it's a different kind of fire. He'll get
Yeah.
you the goals, he'll get you the assists, but it's not that Jordan Henderson in the Merseyside derby kind of thing.
Oh, I mean, that's a great
Yeah.
connection and a great segue.
A little bit
I
of a
think.
segue.
Yeah. Now we can move on to predictions for next week. It is Derby week
It's derby week.
for many reasons. One for personal, two for global. But
Company, global,
company global,
and then traditional.
yes, exactly. And wow, that looks a bit different. It looks
Oh!
really good. Yeah. So yeah, you can now see on screen. You can see the last week's record individually, as well as the updated full-time record. I'm one away from even, which, you can't be much happier than I am right now. You, on the other hand,
Well, we got one going in the right
Yep.
direction last week. As you see, I was 1-2 last week. The overall is 10-23, but I'm beginning to accept where I am. That's the first step. You accept where you are. Don't deny it. I'm not going through denial anymore. I
Good,
understand
good.
where I am, and now I'm going to make decisions like confidently, diligently, to bring myself back to where I need to be at that 500 mark. Because 500, if you guys don't know, is really difficult because there's 3 options. And so if you you basically have a 33.3% chance of getting it right every time. So your record should look more like mine looks, 10-23. Mine's a little bit below that still, but mine's more towards the average. Mac is 16-17, which is incredible.
Yeah,
So
I'm flying high right now.
you're doing great. So I'm resetting my head and I'm ready to go with good predictions this week. I'm predicting a 3-0 for myself,
Wow,
which is the confidence I need.
good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Shall we go top to bottom?
We shall.
Okay, starting the Der Klassiker. One of the greatest names behind El Clasico and El Tráfico.
Yes.
Between the Galaxy
The
and,
Tráfico is-
and
Hey, that's one of
Los
the
Angeles FC. Really defines the MLS in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But the Der Klassiker, which is the German derby, which is between the 2 biggest German clubs, Borussia Dortmund and FC Bayern München, or Bayern Munich if you're from the United States. And that is happening this coming week. It's a very big game. We just talked about Robert Lewandowski and the form that he is in, scoring 47 goals in 42 games. So I'm just going to put it out there real quick, and I'm going to start us. It's a win for Bayern for me.
Okay. And do you want to give a reason for that?
Robert Lewandowski, I think, is going to perform incredibly well.
As he always does.
Yes,
It seems.
it's as it is proven
a
throughout the past 3 seasons.
Hassani level performance, would you
No.
say? No.
But contributing. 2 goals, maybe Hassani, depending on what else happens, but not maybe a candidate, but not a week.
So I'm gonna go with you on this one. A Bayern win, and the reason is Gio Reyna is not playing for Dortmund as he picked up another injury recently.
Super sad. He
Yeah.
literally played in his first game back
Yeah.
with Dortmund and tore his, well, they say tore in Germany and in Europe, but I think that's just a difference in translation. I don't think
Yeah.
he actually tore through the whole hamstring tendon, but I think what they mean there is there was a minute tear,
Yeah.
which has taken him out for another period of time, which is unfortunate.
Exactly. And without him, they're nothing, I believe. So it's a Bayern win. That's 2 Bayern wins for us. And secondly is the Liverpool Everton, the Merseyside derby. And this one maybe is a bit easier to predict, but for you needing to go 3-0.
Well, we can do 2 of the same.
Yeah. What do you really
So I personally think that it's not right for us to go against what we predicted for this match last week.
This is what I was thinking.
And so we predicted last week that this was going to be a very close game, but Liverpool was going to come out on top and win it. And the reason we predicted it last week is because we predicted Liverpool and Man City's final 7 games before the end of the Premier League to see who we think is going to win the Premier League. So this was one of the games that we predicted inherently due to that activity that we did. So I think we have to stick to it. And so I'm at least going to go with a Liverpool win. I might go with a draw if I'm predicting it today, but we're going to go with the past ones, and I'm going to say Liverpool win. But it's going to be a close game, way closer than people think.
I'm also obviously going with a Liverpool win, as we predicted that when we were looking at the title race. Liverpool just have that extra X factor. I think Everton will come in with a lot of passion.
Totally. The chat just said, looking forward to the COG Media Derby, which is what we have up next. And it is probably the most anticipated game within the company and the world throughout the 12 months.
Yeah, you see that Bayern, Dortmund, LAFC, LA Galaxy, Liverpool, Everton, Barcelona, Real Madrid. You see all those, and then you put in there
Southampton, Brighton.
Exactly.
Totally.
And then for this game, it already happened
in the first half of the season.
The first leg, I'd say, maybe. Should we say?
We're going by legs. It works, technically speaking.
It does. It was a 1-1 draw.
Which is what is expected usually between these games.
Yes. Armando Broja with a goal, and then Neil. This was in the phase where Neil was scoring.
Unreal.
90 plus 10, like, equalizers every
single game.
And he got us with that one. It was a 90 plus 8 goal, and that was just heartbreaking for us. But the teams are different now. We're both coming off of wins against North London teams.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you're coming off of 2 wins, both North London teams, us with just Arsenal. I think it's, we don't have to say much about our predictions.
North London is blue is what I'm going to say, because we have beaten both of them.
Exactly.
Which is great.
Blue, and then, like...
with a seagull running through it.
And a saint. A little saint.
Yeah, because, this game will define whether the saint gets larger.
Yes.
And kicks the seagull out.
Yes, because we did draw.
The streets red.
So we're, like, even there, but you've won against both Tottenham and Arsenal.
So this is the decider of who conquers North London as well.
Yeah.
Politics.
Yes. So I'm going with the Saints, the mighty Saints.
As you must.
It is at Brighton. We kind of forgot to switch
at the American Express Stadium.
Yeah, the MX. Yeah, it should be switched, but
it is what it is.
They get the gist.
Yeah, I mean, our media team just needs to.
Well, in the U.S., it's the home team.
We're trying to make it available for everyone to understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of them are U.S., some of them are European.
It's like in a different language, So like, if you're
next time we're gonna have Portuguese instead of English for all of our.
Yep.
So that works. I'm obviously gonna go with a Brighton Hove Albion Football Club win.
Yep.
The Seagulls will triumph.
Okay.
I'm not willing to let my actual gut kick into play here and say it's a draw, and I think you might be similar in those regards. So we're both going with our respective teams winning, but I really look forward to it. I mean, we're both gonna be watching it. Dutifully.
Yes, with notepads, the legal pad.
The legal pad's not going.
Yeah,
it's eyes right on the screen.
Yeah, I think it'll be an intense game. Hopefully a win for either of the teams. I'm hoping for a win for either of the teams because it's usually a draw, and
it is.
It's not very fun, but
it's anticipated. Remember,
it is.
I mean, 90,000 plus at the MX.
Yeah,
they're gonna triple capacity.
But I hear Southampton are buying up some away tickets and general admission.
A bit of 30,000 fans in the Amex.
I think it'll be like Wembley.
95% of the stadium is Southampton fans.
I think it'll be Wembley, where it's split half and half.
Yeah,
which would be very cool.
That would be incredible.
Yeah.
That's what they usually do at these big cognitive derbies.
They see. Oh, it's
we gotta sell half an hour.
We have to. It's needed. But those are our predictions for next week.
We will cover fantasy next,
yes.
But mind you, the game week is nowhere near finished.
No,
so fantasy is kind of irrelevant at the moment. We'll show you our teams as it's up on screen, but it, like I said before, just like almost all of our players have not played yet, so it's kind of hard for us to like fully express what's going to happen or what has happened. Do you want me to start or do you want to start?
I mean, yeah, it's just a bunch of midweek games, but you can start with your team there.
Yeah, so on the normal fantasy, I have 36 points so far. But, I mean, Sanchez with a game, Cancelo with a game, Salisu with a game, Trossard with a game, Gallagher with a game, and Mape with a game is huge. I could get close to 60s, I'm thinking.
You're thinking that?
Yeah, it's pretty inevitable that close 60s is going to happen this week, in my opinion. So I'm expecting that.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the average is 18 right now, so I'm already flying high above that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm at 23, so above average, but
Both doing
literally my whole team, except for Pookie, has another game to play, which I am very happy to see the potential that this team has. You know, Ward-Prowse captained.
It's really what you want to see.
Against Burnley, you know, that could be a huge points pickup. Basuma with the red, do you know what's his injury report there? Suspension.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot
something.
of speculation surrounding Basuma and why he doesn't play.
Okay.
It's just it's a bit of waffle.
Yeah. 28 points so far for the draft team for me. Pookie again just carrying both of my teams with 9. Walker Peters I see with 6. And then again, most players have to play, but we thought we'd give you a little update on so far.
Yeah, 25 for me in the draft team. I mean, no need to really go and look at where we are in the table at the moment for the draft because it hasn't finished.
Yeah.
But obviously, still lots of time to go and could climb higher. This is one of the first times, though, that my actual fantasy team is higher than my draft. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, it's really big.
It's really cool.
It's really nice.
I'm happy for you.
Well, I think that concludes this week's episode. We are in a little bit of a kerfuffle right now about timing for the podcast.
Yes.
So there's a chance we move to a different day or we move to a different time. We don't really know right now. We have to work out all 3 of our schedules. We also have a huge schedule change coming up in about 2 weeks. So we're going to keep bringing you the podcast, but apologies for the differences in times and days over the next 2 to 3 weeks while we get everything worked out. But after that, it should be all good. So just hang with us while all of this happens. Exactly. If you look at COG Weekly Official, you can get clips. You can get different Instagram posts. You'll see who the Hassani of the week is, and we'll congratulate them. And then we'll also, the day of or the day before, tell you when the pod is happening. So make sure you follow COG Weekly Official on top of Class on Grass Media to get all those updates. And until next week, hopefully you can watch some footy, enjoy yourself, and peace.